The House will come to order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of personal privilege. My character has been publicly impugned by a disciplinary letter from the Speaker that makes me the first ever representative to be barred from this chamber on non-session days, by a resulting press account that bears little resemblance to what actually occurred, and by a sustained effort to characterize principled advocacy as instability. I rise today to correct the record. In order to do that, I must give the true accounting of events. The bill at the center of this is HB 1633, the language of which has passed this floor with near unanimity 3 times. It simply requires that victims of sexual assault be informed of their rights under New Hampshire law. It creates no new rights. It creates no new crimes. This body most recently passed it on a roll call vote of 340 to 1. At the recent Senate Judiciary hearing on the bill, supporters of the bill, including 4 sexual assault survivors, were limited to 3 minutes, but opponents received 20 minutes and were called back for a second turn. Further, the chair spent a considerable portion of the hearing clearly confused about what the bill even did, an effect of, as he confirmed personally to me later, heavy lobbying by one organization beforehand. I was not in the room. I was in the public hallway outside of it, where I am not subject to House rules nor Senate rules, and where I broke no rules, which is why, in fact, I have not been accused of breaking any rules. I want you to try to imagine what it is like being a sexual assault survivor, having worked for 3 years for just the most basic of rights, in a hallway, watching yet again another institution meant to help survivors fail them. No, I was not quiet about that failure. I said one word, everyone's favorite cuss word, into the air by myself, directed at no one. No law enforcement or protective services spoke to me, and at no point was I escorted to or from anywhere. But for speaking my frustration to the ceiling, I received the first access ban in the recorded history of this body, citing not a decorum rule, but a criminal statute. A criminal statute that a speaker has no authority to enforce, imposed without a hearing, without findings, and without due process. I would invite this body to consider that discipline next to the record. Just 5 years ago, a sitting speaker of this House presiding over this body referred to a sitting member as a misogynistic slur on a live microphone. It disrupted public proceedings, but there was no ban, no committee removal, no invocation of a criminal statute. A sitting member this year has made an obscene gesture to a sitting governor from the floor during session, and another member of this body publicly called for a final solution on another member. A reference by any honest reading to a Nazi program of extermination, but no one has been banned, no one else. That last member is moving through a process that affords him notice, hearing, and the opportunity to respond. I am not asking that those members be treated more harshly than they are. I'm asking this body to notice that I was not afforded anything resembling what they were afforded for conduct that does not remotely compare, and that none of them have been punished the way that I have. So I would ask honestly, what is actually being punished here? Because it's not language. Let's drop the facade. A high conflict, high stress environment with 400 adults with larger than average egos. We use colorful language all the time. This building has a high tolerance for language when the speaker is the right kind of person, saying the right kind of thing in the right direction. What is being punished here is caring too loudly in the wrong hallway, on the wrong bill, on behalf of the wrong people, in opposition to the wrong group. That is not a matter of decorum. That is bad faith. And bad faith is the operating principle of too much of what happens in this building. We forget that we pass policy that impacts the real lives of 1.4 million people. We pretend bills are just pieces on a board to be moved for reputation, for clout, for leverage, for the preservation of relationships with lobbyists who prefer that survivors not know their rights. We pass or defeat bills on the basis of whose name is on it, or what makes the other team look bad, or what pleases our leadership, with what is in the best interest of the people often just being an afterthought. I am not telling any of you what you don't already know. When we treat the people of this state like pawns, and we do every day, the people we serve know. They know, and that is why they have stopped trusting us. The emperor wears no clothes, and the only thing more embarrassing than his nakedness is the number of us who have agreed to keep admiring the tailoring. I have been called erratic. I am not erratic. I am consistent. For 10 years in this body and for every year before it, my constituents know exactly who they elected. They elected me 5 times. They elected the woman who raises her voice when survivors are being procedurally silenced, because this is the woman they sent here to raise it. The problem is not that I am uncouth. It is that I am principled, and power hates principles, because the principled cannot be controlled. I cannot be bought. I cannot be manipulated. I cannot be intimidated. That is not a personal virtue. That is the job description my district wrote for me, and I intend to honor it for as long as they allow me to hold this seat. And that is their job description for me, because they know that decorum is well and fine, but decorum alone is meaningless. It is not enough to curtsy to each other while we burn down the principles of good governance every day. They know that the ways in which we govern are often obscene, and that sometimes the only language that can describe that is obscenities. The 1,000 survivors a year in New Hampshire who leave hospitals without ever being told they had a right to evidence do not have the luxury of performing civility while their claims are procedurally strangled. Neither, therefore, do I. May we all learn to, like our constituents, take far more offense with bad faith governance than with colorful language. Whatever comes next, I will be here doing the work my constituents elected me to do. That decision is theirs alone and belongs to no one in this room. The only question is what this body chooses to stand for, because I am not going anywhere.